Thank you. Would like to call this meeting to order February 22nd, Monday. All to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ballard.
Here.
Ms. Nazario.
Here.
Ms. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Sturgill.
Here.
Mr. Williams.
Here.
Please stand for the pledge. Recognition of visitors, seeing none. Seeing none. First hearing of the public. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to speak? Seeing none. Consider approval of the February 16th special meeting minutes. Motion?
Motion to approve.
Support?
Roll call?
Ms. Nazario.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Ballard.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
And Mr. Sturgill.
Moving down to 7.01.
Yes.
Business. I'm sorry. Do we have anything in old business? Seeing nothing. Report and recommendations of the treasurer.
Nothing at this time.
Nothing at this time. Report and recommendations of the CEO.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just a few announcements before we share more. Let's see, our staff's vaccine, it will be this Friday. And we've heard rumors that they've been delayed. That's none of that's been confirmed. I actually talked to our health commissioner today, and that was not a part of the conversation. Early college information sessions for 8th graders. Please check the website. Incidence rate for COVID testing is still low. We're at 1.3%. And that means two things. It means first that our mitigation strategies in our schools are working, but it also means that people are behaving properly outside of school. So again, I want to thank everybody for making that a high priority, keep our people safe. And just as a reminder, our families can choose to send their children back to school in person at any time for the hybrid model. Please call your child's school to pull that off. If you have a child of preschool age, preschool is enrolling now. So give us a call, get your child in. And we've been talking about the communications audit. It's been delayed a little bit, candidly, because we are still trying to tweak to align our plan to be better aligned with best practice when it comes to our translation services. And the last thing I want to do is we talked about at every meeting, our plan is to give an update on our strategic plan to make sure the board is as informed as it can be as we progress forward. And getting the document done was a lot of work, very tedious, very process driven. And I think the quality of the plan is, I think it's outstanding. It's a great plan, but it means nothing if we don't execute it. And I think here's where leadership, we're talking about our building level leaders and our folks at central office, but here's where leadership component takes place. And again, it's what happens in the buildings that matter. But when the plan was shared, you can see that there are many steps to take place. And what we did first in our plan was determine which of those steps should take place in the spring of 2021, which should take place in the summer of 2021. Then we went out 5 years based on that. But even when you look at all that takes place in the spring of 2021, and we're halfway through the spring of 2021, there's still a lot. So the question is, how do you go about doing that in a way that is appropriate? Like, what's the best way to approach that? And I will defer to Ross to have him walk us through the tree. The action plan tree.
Yeah, so where we left off last week when we presented our plan, we left off with this picture right here of each action step and then out 5 years when it would be implemented. And in spring of 21, as Dr. Graham just said, we have a number of action steps starting, and all of them are not created exactly equally in terms of when we need to start. So what we worked on this morning is to prioritize the sequence of the spring 21 action steps to walk through to make sure that we're intentional about which ones we need to start with and which ones set up the next action steps to follow. So what we did is we looked at each action step. Let me share this a little better here. We looked at each action step in the spring of 21, and we asked ourselves, is this a foundational one? Is this one that comes a little bit down the line? Are other action steps dependent on this one for us going forward? And so we looked at each and every single action step, and what we came up with, we call it an action step tree. And so the items at the bottom are the ones that really trigger other action steps. So HC3 at the bottom stands for healthy culture, and then that's number 3. And that action step is our process to form teams. So we talked about having an intentional process to form teams that's based on competencies, that helps us to more closely mirror our demographic of the students that we serve, and that really is a foundational piece for everything. So that's the very first one that we need to work on. From that, our district leadership team will sit on top of that action step. And then we have TL4, which is understand the format and components of curriculum assessment instruction pedagogy sits on top of that. And then we have our kind of curriculum path. HC1 is healthy culture number 1, and that's design a sustainable plan to recruit and retain staff with diverse ethnic backgrounds, again, to more closely mirror our student demographic. HC5, again, the healthy culture. This is to develop a module around the norms of collaboration. So much of our plan is based on how we collaborate and work together, that norms of collaboration has to be one of those foundational items that so many things are going to stand upon. Then the TIP4 is our improvement process, and then number 4. So that's an orientation process for our new district leadership team members. And once we can do that orientation, then we can, again, extend to some other action steps. The improvement process number 1, a number of items connect off of that. And that's our district leadership team forming work groups. So and we talked about this last Tuesday, we showed you, we'll have implementation teams that will be working to implement those specific action steps. And so the district leadership team, one of their first items after we go through that orientation is going to be to decide who are the members of the teams then that are going to be working to implement those specific action steps coming up next. Healthy Culture 18 is develop expectations and a protocol for clear and consistent two-way communication. Again, that'll connect with the communications audit. And then E1 stands for Equity 1, and that's understand how all programs can perpetuate inequities. So those are foundational, like right out of the gate action steps that set up then the action steps you can see connected to those. All of that starts with our process to make sure that we are clear, we're based on competencies, we are minimizing bias in our team selection process, which is that healthy culture number 3. From there, we'll form our district leadership team, and we'll be off and running from there. Other things, Jeff or others to add?
Yeah, our goal tonight was to have you understand the concept of what we plan to do in terms of organizing and attacking each one of these action plans. There's a lot. It's easy to get lost in how overwhelming it is to juggle these pieces. But again, as Ross mentioned, there are some things we have to do before we can do other things. So our goal was with intention, let's line it up. What are things that we have to accomplish? And the last one he talked about was equity. We can't have equity non-negotiables until we understand what equity is and what inequities are. So, I mean, there are pieces in there that start out with base level of understanding. But if you look at, he talked about HC3, which is how to build teams. You look at the district leadership team and you see that everything stems from that. And if you recall, the district leadership team is not people in central office. There are some people in central office, but there are teacher leaders, there are building level leaders, principal leaders, and we all work together to make sure that all those things are being implemented the right way. And that everything is filtered through them. This is the team that make district decisions and set parameters for the buildings, will in turn set parameters for our teachers. So again, the goal of this is just, and I think the way we tried to phrase it all along, overwhelming people with support. But it's not a top-down piece. The group that put this together, again, set parameters, but every group is represented in that room. Now, when the work gets done, it comes down to leadership with an emphasis on leadership at the level, which is not just principals, it's teachers and it works. questions on where we are?
I have a question. I don't know how to. Is there kind of a narrative that go along with these blocks?
Mhm.
We just heard what you said, but I couldn't, so, I mean, and not that we have to have it now.
No,
But-
right there. It's a screen before. What we did is we just abbreviated, HC1 is the first action plan under healthy culture. So that it's all aligned to the previous page. So in
Okay,
the document, you have that document.
Right.
And you'll have all these documents will have links that clicks, you can flow back and forth without having to do a lot of searching.
I
And
just wanted
also
to make
with
sure
the
that
work being
people,
done, you'll see with, again, additional, links. Everything will be linked together.
right, so this is on the website too, I think, right?
That's correct. Yep.
So, and I haven't looked at the website, I never do, but does it explain how to navigate through it? Because if not, that would be very helpful, because folks will see it, and if they can just have a little tutorial on how to click and navigate so that they can actually, there's a lot of information here, but some people would never find it just because
And
they,
that's a good point. We did that. We did the tutorial when we presented the plan the last week. That is one together. But to have a tutorial attached to the link
yeah,
so people watch it, I like that idea.
because someone will open it up and then they just want to click
And it's all
someplace.
right there. There's two different ways you can go. You can go in it and do all the links and connect, or you can go off the side and find the heading you're looking for and go down that path.
Yeah, I just think that
But
that would be
yeah, walk folks
helpful
through.
for folks. It makes it a little bit more user friendly, and then they don't sit through it for 20 minutes and not figure it out.
I just got a text saying we can do that.
Great,
So
thank you.
folks who are watching in or out. Video and narrative to guide us through. Perfect. Thank you.
Appreciate that, sir.
But to your point, if people aren't looking at it, people aren't paying attention to it, people aren't focused on it, it's not going to get done. It has to be user friendly. And not just for the folks at this table or the people in the classrooms, but if our community doesn't buy in, then it fails. And to buy in, you have to understand.
And I think what happens sometimes is when people experience a certain level of frustration when they're trying to do something, they then make assessments about it that aren't true, but they're out of frustration. And then they just discard it. And then they have a lot of narrative that they say, well, this, but it was really the frustration of not being able to find it.
And we intention didn't create a book out of this because a book is some sense of permanence. We wanted to make sure that the document we created was consistent with the message we're trying to send, which is this is fluid. It will change daily. And as it changes, it should be very easy for you to find the progress that we made, the areas where we struggle, and any adjustments that have come as a result.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? All right, I would like the board to consider for approval items 3.01, items 3.05, personnel matters.
So moved?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Ms. Nazario. Yes. Mr. Ballard.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill.
Bill, are you muted? Can you unmute, Bill?
He might have gotten disconnected or something, so.
Okay, very good.
I'd like the board to consider for approval items 4.01 to 4.07, operations matters.
Your motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Ballard.
Yes.
Ms. Nazario. Yes. Mr. Sturgill.
Unmute your mic, Bill.
Yes,
There you go. Thank you, sir.
And I guess I would like to bring back items 3.01 to 3.05 for approval with Mr. Sturgill. I don't want anyone to read a lack of vote as something.
I said yes, but I could, well,
So
Yep.
motion to re-vote on that
Did
item?
you, I'm sorry, Bill, did you say yes to personnel matters?
I did, but my computer,
Is that,
He's muted. That's
okay,
fine.
is that okay?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
it's in the minutes.
Mr. President, that's all I have to say.
Wow. Okay, thank you. Is there any committee reports now? Briefly, you said something in the opening about, I guess we're having a communique about early college.
The early college is on the website. There are opportunities for our eighth graders to learn more about early college at Lorain High. We are now a designated site for early college, so that information is available on our website. And I believe there's a session tonight at 7 o'clock. If I'm
Okay.
not mistaken.
When I saw some early college people, I didn't know if there was
Gotcha.
something that I was missing.
They're
So I
here
wanted to
learning
make sure. Yeah,
and
very
sharing.
good. Outstanding. Outstanding. Good. Anything from any further board members? We got number 14, hearing of the public. Seeing none, I want to announce that our next board meeting will be on March the 8th at 5 o'clock right here in the auditorium. And from there, we're going to go into number 17. We're going into an executive session, A7 under compensation, and we will not be taking any votes when we come out. I need a motion to go into executive session, please.
So
Motion to
moved.
go into executive session for the stated items.
It's
Or I'll
moved
second
and
Bill.
supported. Roll call?
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Ms. Nazario. Yes. Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Ballard, since there's not going to be a vote afterwards, is it okay if we excuse the people who are zooming in?
We can excuse those that are zooming in, but we'll
Thank you.
still have to come out.
Enjoy your
and,
nights.
Yeah, you guys enjoy your night. Thank you all.
And those of you who want to be a part of it, there is a Zoom link for the executive session. Mr. Sturgill is a part of that. Mr. Scott's a part of that. And whoever else wants to be, please just shoot me a text.
Can I take 3 minutes before we go back there and have a quick conversation? You want to do a conversation back here?
Yeah, whatever you need.
Hey, Coach, could you bring him down? What, you want to do
We
that?
turn this off.
Okay.
Actually, we can shut this down, right?
Yes, we gotta come back out. We gotta come back out.
We don't have to be,
No, we don't. No, we can kill the mics.
yeah.